What's up, guys? Matt Brown, Mo Nuara here for TheLines.com. This is the divisional round in the NFL playoffs. On Saturday evening, we get the Washington Commanders on the road at the Detroit Lions. This thing all the way up to 55.5 on the total. 9.5 is the market. High 8.5 is the market. Low on Detroit at home. They get that first round bye, get to heal up a little bit, get to look at their opponents and watch them and study them, Mo. But, you know, everybody's expecting a track meet here in this one, obviously, with this total being as high as it is, though it has been ticked down at least a half a point there off that opening at 56. And we see a little bit of love for Washington to get it off of the 10, but still some buyback here on Detroit when this thing got down to 8.5 again, gets immediately bought back up to the 9.5s out there. How do you see Washington and Detroit?
I like Washington. This is one I made. I don't like Washington on the regular line, so I know I was kind of eyeing it, seeing if it would get to 10, but like it didn't. So whatever, it's not that big of a deal. Because I actually like the alts. I mean, more so, I guess if it got to 10, I would get better prices on the alts. But I took Washington plus 3.5, plus 215 at FanDuel, plus 7.5, plus 106. A lot of variance in this game. Two high-powered offenses, two very beatable defenses, I think. And then you got just two coaches that are going to go for every fourth and short, and probably some fourth and mediums as well. So. I mean, this game could honestly just come down to a handful of plays. I definitely think it's rightful that the total is so high. Everything's pointing that way for me. I can't see too many scenarios where Washington is getting stops in this game. I mean, they just don't have a good defense statistically, and then matchup-wise, this isn't great for them. You have a Lions offense where Jared Goff, he gains 50 points of passer rating against man defense. He's 145 passer rating against man this year, which is kind of wild. And Washington plays a fair amount of man. I think they're in the middle of the pack. So that's not great. They like to blitz. According to PFF's grading, Jared Goff was better when blitzed this year. Probably a function of the O-line picking up most of those blitzes. I like parlaying Washington with the over. Because of that, I just don't see a scenario where they're not going to cover 27-20. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game, and I think Detroit team total over makes some sense if you want to be a nit, but I like being a little more aggressive and parlaying Washington with the over because I think they can keep up, man. I mean, Jaden Daniels is not Sam Darnold. He is very good, and he is a two-dimensional player, and you have a Lions defense that allowed an average of 41 points to the last three good offenses they faced that were not quarterbacked by Sam Darnold. So that was Green Bay, Buffalo, and San Francisco. I mean, Washington parlayed with the over makes sense. If you want to get really crazy, which I did, I think a fun SGP for this game is Detroit over its team total, or one of the lower kind of team totals. I think I did 31.5. I think it's minus 120. On DK, you can take that and go with Washington money line, and that's 25-1. So I think that's good.
Yeah, there's a couple other, if you're SGPing here, if you like points, if you whatever, I played it before the juice got crazy. That's why I'm saying more now, including it in a SGP as opposed to a sole bet. But they open the over under punts, Mo, on this at 6.5 in this game. Again, unless things go drastically wrong, there's not going to be 7 punts in this game. I mean, like you just mentioned, these dudes just go for it on fourth down all the time as it is anyway. And they're just they're efficient offenses. They just move the ball and they go and they score. It's juices all the way out to minus 155 now. That's not the craziest thing in the whole world. If you love a bet, I actually love this bet, but if your bankroll doesn't really, account for something like that, a minus 155 bet, I think including in a same game parlay that includes points being scored, because you can't punt 7 times and have a whole bunch of points being scored. That's just not going to work. So I think that's something you can throw in there as well.
Yeah, I think another one you could look for maybe is like under field goals, under field goal attempts, under field goals made. I mean, these guys are not going to kick field goals unless it's 4th and 15 or whatever. Like, especially
the Washington kicker isn't good anyway. Like, he's not any good anyway.
And once the ball gets rolling, too, like, once you are sense that you're in a game where the other team is going to keep scoring touchdowns, it further incentivizes you not to kick field goals. So that just all plays into it.
I do wonder a little bit about if we're talking props and from the receiver standpoint on Detroit. I mean, we saw it last week. Marshawn Lattimore just got absolutely roasted by Mike Evans, right? And so if you're Detroit, is there a world that exists? And I'm not saying this in hyperbole. I'm being dead serious. If you watch that game, is there not a world where if you're Jared Goff, you almost target Lattimore? I mean, like Evans won every single route against him, and the ones he didn't actually catch the ball, he got interfered with. You know, I mean, like he got pass interfered. I don't know if there's not a world where Goff is looking, and if Lattimore is actually going to cover one of these guys, I can't imagine Washington after last week would do that again. But if they did, I mean, Jesus Christ, like if it's Jameson Williams, like Jameson Williams could have 200 yards in this game.
That was the one anytime touchdown I kind of liked on the Lions side is Jameson.
Yeah.
You can get him around plus 130, even close to plus 140. And just the fact that, yeah, these Lions corners probably can't run with him. And everyone else on Detroit has a crazy price.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Amon-Ra, Montgomery, and Jameer are like all somewhere between minus 115 and minus 215, I think, or something. I mean, Jameer finally is at minus 300, so that's an interesting angle. If you can try to figure out what they're going to do with their running backs, but then Montgomery's still minus 150, so I don't know what's going to happen there.
That's my next question to you, and like I know all we can do is kind of speculate, but so the injury happens with Montgomery, and we hear he's out for the season. You know, it's like he's done for the year, and here it is 3 weeks later, and the dude's going to play. Are you just going under the assumption that, like, hell, if they're going to play him, we just have to assume he's healthy? Or are you kind of taking this like baby steps? Because there's a market high of 47.5 rushing yards on David Montgomery, right? Which is, if you're averaging 4 yards a clip or a little over 4 yards a clip, he's going to have to get 10 carries in this game to get to that number. How do you even view this Montgomery situation?
I don't know what to think. I mean, they list him as a full participant, and then they took him all the way off the practice report. So they're basically just saying he's ready to rock, but you know how teams can be with this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they might just want, Washington to be preparing for him, and then he plays 8 snaps or something. That's the nice thing about some of these props, though. If you take the alt unders or whatever, if he even plays, then it automatically has action. But I don't know. I feel like if he gets any carries, it's probably going to be at least like 8. And obviously 47 is pretty low. Like, it's probably 20 yards lower than most of his numbers in the regular season. So they're already baking in something, but it's kind of a halfway number. Like, it's not a number that would reflect obviously a much lower role, but it's also not reflecting his regular role. So they're anticipating something in between.
Passing yards, market low on Jaden Daniels, 234.5. I couldn't help but play the over on this. I do believe that these offenses are going to be able to move the ball. I do believe that we're going to see some success through the air for these teams. 235 passing yards for Jaden Daniels in a game that I kind of still believe is going to be a shootout. I know that I'm not buying into what to the hype of anything. I honestly just believe you have two really good offenses that are coming in against two defenses that can be had. And at 235 with a very inefficient rush offense as it is anyway outside of Jaden Daniels, I mean, like, if you watch, all you had to do was watch last week. I mean, like, Brian Robinson somehow in the middle of the season just became dust. Like, he just fell off of a cliff, can't do anything. And then Austin Eckler, 700 years old, out there trying to run the ball as well. They just can't do anything on the ground now. And so with that, I think he's going to throw the ball, and it might, whether that's because they're in a shootout mode or maybe they're down 2 scores and he just has to throw the ball one way or another. I don't know. I think 234 just a little bit too low for me, so ended up with a play on Daniels over on the passing side of things.
Yeah, that seems fine. I mean, like you said, any game script basically could include that. It's not dependent on any kind of game state. So I like making bets like that when it doesn't need things to go a certain way to come home. And like I said, I do think no matter what happens in this game, I think Detroit's going to be scoring and moving the ball. So in that case, Washington is going to be either playing catch up or keeping up. And I think either way, he probably goes over that number.
If you like Detroit in this game, guys, it is 8.5 at DraftKings. That's also Kansas City, 8.5 as well. So you could, in fact, make a teaser leg out of that to get it under 2.5 on both sides there. So that is where the market low is, this one over at DraftKings. So fun game. Can't wait to watch it. Going to be super, super awesome there on Saturday evening. Guys, everything we do, absolutely free. So do appreciate the support here. Go in. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comment section how you're going to play this thing. For Mo, I am Matt. Good luck on all your Washington, Detroit bets.